In 2019, YouTube was caught violating the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA. Since settling, YouTube has enacted new policies that are meant to serve as a smokescreen so they can dodge responsibility and scapegoat creators. As such, for my own protection, it is my obligation to advise you that this video is not aimed at children. My target audience is not children. Parental discretion is advised. Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel. Welcome back to Sentinel Reviews. Our look at Dark Shadows, the Quentin Collins Collection, continues with London's Burning. Released in June 2010, written by Joseph Lidster, directed by Darren Gross. As London's Burning stars David Selby as Quentin Collins and Louise Jameson as Rosie Faye. As always, I will be talking spoilers. London's Burning is over 10 years old, so in the description box below, you will find the link to Big Finish's website where you can buy London's Burning, or you can get it as part of the Quentin Collins Collection digital bundle. And as I mentioned in my review for Blood Dance, London's Burning is the start of the World War II Trilogy, or the World War II arc. I don't know if there's more stories to this particular story arc, but 3 of them do come in the Quentin Collins Collection, hence my assumption that it is a trilogy. And as the name implies, the World War II Trilogy sees Quentin traveling abroad. He's left Collinsport, and he is now traveling around the world during World War II. I can't talk today. The World War II Trilogy is made up of 3 story arcs. London's Burning, The Creeping Fog, and Operation Victor. And London's Burning has the least to do with the story arc of Quentin in World War II. Really, the World War II setting here is a framing device to, a story that Quentin is telling. The other 2 stories do take place in the present, though. So, one night, Quentin is walking the streets of London when the alarms go off, announcing another Blitz. And as he's heading towards a shelter, as he's heading away from a shelter, because Quentin, at this point in time in his immortal life, really doesn't care. But as he's leaving a shelter, he hears a familiar voice and sees one Rosie Faye, played by Louise Jameson. Now, the shelter they're in is blitzed. This all happens before the opening, by the way, so this is sort of the cold open. And in the wreckage of the bomb site, Quentin finds an injured Rosie and talks to her and, tries to keep her conscious until help arrives. Which now gives me time to talk about some of the characters. Rosie Faye is the younger sister of a character from the series. Mixed up names. Pansy Faye, played by Nancy Barrett. Pansy was, I believe she was an actress. She was some sort of entertainer who was a paramour of Quentin's at one point, which probably leads to his not romantically pursuing Rosie, which I actually really like that dynamic. Like I said, most of the stories in this set, with 2 exceptions, I believe, The Creeping Fog and Operation Victor, most of the stories in this set focus on Quentin's relationship with women. And London's Burning is a standout because the relationship in question is not romantic. Now that I think about it, I think it's the same with the Haunted Refrain. But we'll talk about that when we get to the Haunted Refrain. And as great as David Selby is, Louise Jameson just steals the show. Rosie Faye is a showwoman. She is a performer. So she gets the chance to act up and sell every scene she's in. And she is just phenomenal. Now that I think about it, just seeing the stuff she's done beyond it, I still like the character, mind you, but I actually think I actually think Leela is a bit of a waste of Louise Jameson's phenomenal acting ability. Like so many of the things I've seen her in, um, beyond Doctor Who, she's just utterly brilliant. Like like I've said, Big Finish's adaptation of King Lear is one of my favorite things Big Finish has ever done, and she is amazing as Goneril. Or even the War Doctor Series 4, Casualties of War. She plays an older Leela who has been severely damaged by the Time War, and her performance in that set is really what is the main driving force in why The Lady of Obsidian is my favorite War Doctor audio. And I really want to get her drama showcase. Big Finish briefly had a range called Drama Showcase where various actors did various projects. Like Katie Manning had one called Not a Well Woman. Jeffrey Beavers did one. Louise Jameson did one called Pulling Faces, based on a play she was in, and I really want to check that one out. But yeah, no. Bottom line is, Louise Jameson is a phenomenal actress, and I really love stories like this where she can really show off how great she is. So here's the thing. So as I said, the Blitz, the ruins of the shelter from is really a World War II is really a framing device because Quentin is telling a story of how he met Rosie. And it met Rosie Faye on a previous trip to London, almost 10 years prior. Rosie has no recollection of this meeting. So, she's skeptic the entire time, and once again, as Quentin's telling this story and we're regaled with the flashback, Louise Jameson just again shows how great she is. Like I said, she is the standout of this story. Like she really differentiates Rosie, older Rosie and younger Rosie. And there's even a point in the flashback where Rosie is telling a story that happened, and she performs it well. Like Quentin even comments on her performance of it. Like how she plays all the different characters she interacted with. The main driving point of this story is that the first night Quentin met Rosie, they saw a woman spontaneously combust. And, they're trying to figure out who this woman was, what happened. It turns out this woman was a prostitute. And, as Rosie is trying to figure out things, I keep mixing up words. I am so sorry. As Rosie is trying to figure out what's going on, she comes across this woman whose name I am just now forgetting. I apologize. And, who is, I think she's a madam. I think that's the word. She runs a brothel. She's in charge of the prostitutes. I think that's the term. She's a madam. But she knows about the supernatural occurrences that exist under the veil of everyday life, which is actually very fascinating because she has this entire organization that's dedicated to protecting her ladies, because she mentions that, the ladies of the night are easy marks. No one cares enough about them to raise Cain when they go missing. But as the story goes on, Rosie and Quentin figure out that every one of the women who has died, because there's been several at this point, has seen Rosie's performance, which leads to them finding a body buried under Rosie's dressing room, who is channeling her energy through Rosie's performance. Oh, that's another thing. Louise Jameson sings in this, and it is so infectious. The energy is amazing. Like, if you think Gallifrey and Buccaneer or Joe is making a thing are infectious and catchy, wait until you hear I'm Gonna Dance for You. Like, I think it might be the catchiest thing Big Finish ever did. But no, anyway, this corpse, this woman who was buried under the theater Rosie performs at, is channeling her energy through the song Rosie sings to cause these spontaneous combustions. And this is where it gets confusing. essentially she possesses Rosie to speak through her, because what this spirit is doing is her husband was a warlock. In fact, her husband, it's only hinted at by one line, her husband was Count Petofi. Like long story short, after the end of the story, right before everything gets resolved, the spirit, again, another character whose name I'm forgetting, says, "My husband may be dead, but his hand is still alive." The hand of Petofi. Which is the only hint we get who this woman was. She was Petofi's wife. He had several affairs with her, and when she finally confronted him about it, he cursed her with a living death. And now she is using Rosie, channeling her energy through the song Rosie sings, to spontaneously combust prostitutes. And she's ultimately defeated through compassion. Quentin says, "I did terrible things like this. I had my own wife. I cheated on her. But I'm trying not to be that same man anymore. If I can move on, do you think you can?" And the spirit agrees and allows Quentin to lay her to rest. And the events of the possession are ultimately what caused Rosie to lose her memories of meeting Quentin. Which brings us back to the very touching finale of this story, which takes place back in the present of World War II. Rosie's injuries are too severe, and the story ends with her dying. And it's a really beautiful, touching moment. David Selby and Louise Jameson are great throughout this entire story. And, Rosie's death is really beautifully done. London's Burning is a really good story. It's very fun. It's very fascinating, with a phenomenal performance from Louise Jameson. I cannot gush about that enough. I think I'm going to give London's Burning you just heard me regale you this entire premise and just gushing about it. I don't really have anything to complain about. I'm going to give London's Burning a perfect 10. But that's it for London's Burning. What were your thoughts? Start a conversation in the comments below, and join me next week when the World War II Trilogy continues with The Creeping Fog. So what did you think? Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload. In the description box below, you'll find the link to my Twitter where you can follow me and get updates on the channel. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time.